Spent the whole weekend there, and then he said, "Thank you, Mom, for paying," and ran off, leaving me with a huge bill. Suddenly, he appeared from the living quarters and asked, "Are you Mr. Mark's daughter? I worked for your father for 33 years. Before he died, he told me, 'When you see my daughter, give her this envelope.'" I opened it and went dumbfounded because my son. And before we continue, write what country you are watching this video from and how old you are. Enjoy listening. My son and his daughter-in-law took me to a 5-star hotel for the first time in my life. We lived there for the whole weekend, and I, frankly, felt like I had entered someone else's beautiful life. And then he hugged me in the lobby and whispered, "Thank you for the weekend, Mom."
And he left.
He left in my hands a bill for about 130,000 rubles and an empty space under my ribs, as if from a blow. I stood in the middle of marble and light, like a schoolgirl without diary. For me, a woman of 66, who had quietly earned extra money all my life at the Borks, this was not just a large sum, it was impossible. For that kind of money, I would have slogged around the apartment for a year, swallowing dust and silence. And my son knew it. He knew every penny I had, every sore back of mine, and that I had neither a card nor a pillow, nor people to whom I could run for help. The 2 days before had seemed like a dream. On Friday morning, they drove up to pick me up in a black business-class sedan. Daria in a dress as light as champagne. Her hair was styled, she was wearing expensive perfume, and her handbag gleamed with metal. Misha was wearing glasses. His smile had that same perfect sparkle that he always wore when he wanted something. Only I didn't see it. I saw my son, seemingly grown up, confident, finally, as if proud of himself. With my mother, the hotel was like a palace. Tall columns, floors that reflected the ceiling, heavy crystal chandeliers that spilled warm gold across the walls. It smelled of jasmine and expensive wood. I stood in my brown dress and old shoes and thought that I didn't belong here. And Misha took my arm and whispered, "Mom, relax. You are as important here as everyone else." Daria smiled next to me, evenly, flawlessly, like on the cover. "Svetlana Nikolaevna, you will like the room. Garden view, jacuzzi, everything included. You deserve it." Her voice was sweet, like honey with pepper. I didn't understand that either. I just nodded. Happiness straightened my shoulders inside, and it became warm. Maybe they finally saw me. The room turned out to be larger than my apartment. A huge bed with sheets as white as a cloud. Panoramic windows, behind them scarlet and yellow flowers below, smooth paths, quiet water in the fountain, a cream sofa on which 3 could sleep, and a bathroom, mother-of-pearl tiles, lighting along the edges of the mirrors, soft towels that you are afraid to touch for fear of staining. I sat on the edge of the bed, and I touched the sheet with my palm, and my fingers trembled. Could it really be true? My son brought me here. That means he loves me. That means he values me. I was a fool. We ate Saturday dinner on the terrace. It was evening, and in the distance the city lights sparkled like a scattering of fallen stars. Misha raised his eye. "For you, Mom. For everything you've gone through for me." Daria clapped her glasses. I started crying. We clinked glasses, and the sweet wine burned my throat. I didn't know that with that sip I was swallowing my misfortune. On Sunday he said, "Come down to the hall at 11. We'll check out together."
"Don't worry, Mom."
I arrived on time, suitcase in hand, heart light. They were already standing at the counter, talking with a fair-haired girl, the administrator. I came up and smiled. Misha hugged me tightly and quietly in my ear. "Thank you for the weekend, Mom." It was unforgettable. And he put the bill in my palm. The numbers splashed in my eyes, about 130,000 rubles. And then they walked to the glass doors. Calmly, leisurely, like strolling in the park. Misha, hands in his pockets. Daria with a handbag on a thin strap. They got into the same black sedan and disappeared into the stream. As if nothing had happened. As if I was not his mother. As if these 3 days did not exist. My legs stopped obeying. The paper was shaking so that the numbers were spreading. The lobby was bustling with life. A young couple was laughing by the fountain. A man in a suit was talking on the phone as he walked. A family with children was dragging suitcases to the elevator. Everyone was living, but in my chest everything was falling and breaking. Cash or card? The administrator asked quietly. Her voice was polite, correct, and there was pity in her eyes. She saw my humiliation and tried to be correct. I opened my mouth and couldn't make a sound. Only air whistled, as if I'd been punched in the ribs. If there's a problem, I can call the manager, she said even more softly. Complex is a small word for the hole I'd just fallen into. Tears came on their own, hot, heavy, clasped with anger and shame. People looked around, some with curiosity, some quickly looking away, as if they'd accidentally glanced into someone else's window. Please calm down, the administrator worried. We'll figure something out now. But I already understood that there was nothing to decide. I didn't have their money. I didn't even have a tenth of it.
Asti.
A bus ride home, and then just barely. And then I heard footsteps, slow, shuffling, heavy. I looked up. An elderly woman in an old-fashioned spruce uniform came out of the counter. Her white hair was pulled back into a bun. Her face was finely wrinkled. Her eyes were warm, honey-colored. The uniform on her looked like it was from another time, as if she had been wearing it for decades. The fair-haired girl whispered, "Emma, don't." But the elderly woman waved her hand calmly, firmly. She came up to me so close that I smelled a light scent of lavender and thyme. She looked into my face carefully, as if looking for something important. "Tell me," she asked hoarsely, "aren't you Robert Karadunov's daughter?" "Yes," I said timidly. "I am his daughter." My father's name hit me like cold water. No one had spoken about Karadunov in my presence for almost 30 years. He died when I was 35, leaving me with a child and empty walls. Not a letter, not a penny, only fatigue and bills. The elderly woman closed her eyes, as if holding back the oncoming grief. Then she looked at me and nodded slightly. "I worked for your father for 33 years, from his 20s until the very end. First as a housekeeper at his home, then he himself got me a job here at the hotel. Before he died, he called me to him and said, 'My daughter will come, all confused. Give her this.' I promised." She took an old yellow envelope from her pocket, worn, with soft corners, like something that had been cherished in the palm of a hand for many years. The front was barely legible. Svetlana. The envelope was heavy, as if there was more than just paper inside. "Take this," she said. "My name is Emma Stepanovna. I've been waiting for you." I took the envelope with fingers that trembled like a sick person's. I tore the edge, trying not to rip the inscription. Inside lay a letter and a key, an old, darkened one, with the number 447 stamped on it. A small tag with the address Yelindustrialnaya 447, warehouse number 12, Eastern Industrial Zone, was attached to the key on a leather keychain. The letter smelled of time. Dad's handwriting. Slanted, stern. I would recognize it out of 1,000.
Sveta.
If you are reading this, it means you finally learned that in our family, not everything was as it seemed. Forgive the secrets. Forgive me for leaving without explaining this key to the box at the address Emma will give. Inside is the truth about who I am and who you are. Go alone. Trust no one. Your father, Robert Karadunov. I reread it twice, but it still didn't make sense. Really, who am I? Go alone. Every word is like stone. For me, my father was a silent man who left early, returned late, and never lingered his eyes in the house. I gave him at least a crumb after his death, but nothing. I sold the rest of the furniture to support Misha's studies. And now a rusty key and a sentence from the past. What's in that warehouse? I asked hoarsely. I don't know. Emma Stepanovna shook her head. He didn't speak. He only asked me to tell you when I see you lost and alone. And then you came. She paused, then added, avoiding my gaze. 6 months ago, your son came here. He was looking for me. He said he was doing a family project about his grandfather. I told her that I knew your father was holding on to property, that he hadn't fully processed some things. I didn't give you the details, but I could tell from your son's eyes that I shouldn't have said that. There was no interest there, just greed. My heart sank. 6 months, then, and it wasn't all a coincidence. The trip, the smiles, this gift. Everything according to plan. My boy will figure it all out. Forgive me, Emma whispered. I thought he just wanted to know the family history. I squeezed the envelope to stop my hands from shaking. Swallowed the bitterness. I don't have to go to the industrial park, I said.
Right now.
The fair-haired administrator quietly reminded me about the bill, as if bringing me back to earth. Svetlana Nikolaevna, payment. Emma Stepanovna turned to the counter, and her voice suddenly took on such a calm, commanding tone that the girls straightened. Put the bill in my name. I'll pay in installments because of my salary. Emma, the administrator, was at a loss. This is the least I can do for the daughter of a man who has helped me out more than once. No, I breathed out. I can't accept this. Emma took my hands in hers, cold, dry, surprisingly strong.
Can you?
And you must. And most importantly, you must go to the address. Open the box and find out why your son did what he did. And she leaned closer. Go now, before he gets there himself. If Misha finds out where it is, they won't leave you anything there. I nodded. It became cool and empty, like before the rain. I left the hotel, almost numb. The key jingled in my hand, digging into my skin. It was a typical Moscow day outside. Cars hummed. Someone was arguing at the bus stop. A boy was selling coffee from a van. And all I had was this bunch, metal, leather, old letters. I got to the Eastern Industrial Zone by bus, then on foot. The road stretched like rubber. The city of glass and tile gave way to gray iron and brick. The alleys became narrower, the asphalt worse. Graffiti thickened on the walls. Dogs barked somewhere behind the fences. The wind dragged the plastic along the ground, catching it in the weeds. Industrial NEA 447. Row of